Hello and welcome to the 50 Cent Tour of Wednesday, September 18th, 2013. If you will be so good as to find a seat on the Liberty bus, we will begin our tour of today's Liberty-related news. The IntelliHub reports that 11 million users dropped Facebook over privacy concerns. I find that very interesting. I've considered that myself. Not quite ready to do it yet, but it's certainly worth thinking about. And here's another article from IntelliHub. Michael Jackson one day before death. A group of people want to get rid of me, and a DoD whistleblower confirms this. This is a very interesting article about how the same people who were at work in MK Ultra were also planning means to control black and urban youth. Here's the quote from this man who was affiliated with Project MK Ultra and CIA program Project Sedgwick. The man's name is Robert Connors, and he said, quote, "Unfortunately, the last decade of my career, I have seen and been a part of one of the biggest threats to this great nation and its citizens," end quote. And in the next paragraph, he said, quote, "In March of 1994, I was brought in as Director of Communications for a project called Operation Sedgwick, formed under President Ronald Wilson Reagan in 1989. This program was the second stage in the project called MK Ultra. Its focus and sole purpose was the control of the African American population and urban youth through music." So, if you have an interest in African American music, and I do, you remember Billie Holiday and all the great blues guys and women and all the tremendous jazz, and then all of a sudden there's hip hop and rap. You scratch your head on, where did that artistic expression go? Not to say that that there is no artistic expression in rap or hip hop. I consider it more closely aligned with poetry than with music. But you can see how it has been used to craft a kind of a gangsta culture, and this article sadly just makes a lot of sense. And speaking of mind control, you have probably heard that the shooter in the Washington, D.C. Navy Yard had heard voices in his head, and the Activist Post has an article report, "Was Navy Yard shooter gangstalked with mind control microwave weapons?" Well, these things do exist. According to witnesses, was this done to him? I don't know. I really don't know, but I thought that people might find this article interesting. So keep an eye on that kind of information. Here's from 2012, The Big Picture. Ex-Navy shooter Aaron Alexis treated with psychiatric drugs. Well, I guess we kind of knew that was coming. It's almost standard fare in mass shootings. And of course, people are talking about this about the shooting at the Navy Yard in terms of Second Amendment rights, and politicians are shouting that we need to take away guns to protect citizens. There's an oxymoron. But 2012, The Big Picture has an article that makes that seem even more disconcerting. Memo from UN Office of Disarmament Affairs outlines the gun grab. And as 2012, The Big Picture comments on this article, this is an interesting document if it's for real, and it appears to be. You can check it out below. And there is, I'll scroll down, and this is the document to which they're referring. And Disarmament Commission Civilian Weapons Confiscation Study Group, the United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs. And this document also mentions Agenda 21 and that it's difficult to implement Agenda 21 if Americans have arms. So this document genuine? As 2012 The Big Picture said, I leave that to you to determine. Sherry Questioning All has an article today, or from yesterday actually, Logical and Critical Thinking of Gun Control Due to Navy Yard Shooting. DC and Navy Yard are gun-free areas, which proves gun control does not work. And that really is the strange irony when we have these mass shootings. Virtually all of them have taken place in areas where guns are illegal. If that just really exemplifies the fact that taking guns away, making laws, whatever, is not going to prevent people who want to kill people from having guns. It'll take away the guns from the nice, law-abiding people, the people who are just have guns for hunting and or self-defense. And the crazy people, the criminals, they're still going to get guns. That's just the way it is. You know, this guy in Washington, D.C., I believe he got his weapons from the base. He had absolute, open doors to him, even though he had had serious issues with violence in the past. Moving on to some more encouraging news from Rasmussen reports. 51% favor government shutdown until Congress cuts healthcare funding. Yeah, okay. I think the end of the ability of the U.S. to go on financially will occur October 1st, if memory serves. And here, I guess, is evidence that the American people want the government to shut down. In many respects, I think that we might be better off. It'd be great if we could start over from scratch. And here is a Veterans Today article, Obama's Tipping Point and Implosion. And the first paragraph reads, with a failed presidency, Barack Obama is on the verge of becoming a perpetual buffoon in a skit on Saturday Night Live. Even with such public disdain, the destructive policies of the rogue government merrily continue. The bipartisan cabal class of careerists operates as if they are permanently immune from public outrage. Up to now, they are correct. End quote. And we'll see if that trend continues into the future. To give equal time to Republicans to be fair and balanced, like Fox tries or claims to be. Here's an article about Daddy Bush, also from Veterans Today. Daddy Bush, the Illuminati Wizard of Oz. Now, this article has some very interesting ideas in it about UFOs actually being occupied by not aliens, but I guess you could still call them aliens, that they are the fallen angels described in the Bible. This article does provide some facts that strongly indicate that that is so. But again, it's a very interesting article. I'm not saying that I 100% agree with it. In fact, I'm saying I'm not. But I have heard other people who I respect very much, such as William Schoenbalin and others, say that they believe that for the most part, aliens are probably fallen angels, and alien technology comes from fallen angels who have just been around for so long they've accumulated a lot of knowledge. And specifically, this article is about the Daddy Bush or Poppy George tie-in. And here's a quote, a paragraph. I first became aware of the Bush family ties to Satanism in the 1990s from U.S. intelligence sources. This information came to me because of my investigation into my former father-in-law, Leonard Millman, who is a Knights Templar and one of the Illuminati Council of 13 members, along with George H.W. Bush, also known as Daddy Bush or Poppy George. So, end quote. And interesting stuff. One interesting idea of note in this article is that some of the members of the Illuminati have been possessed, if I can use that word, by fallen angels, and this has given some of these guys psychic powers so that they can avoid death by accidents or assassination. I'm not sure about all this, but I think that it's worth consideration, and it may have bearing on some of the struggles that we face as we seek freedom from tyranny. Now, on a lighter note, Vogue. Could Republican Senator Rand Paul win the White House? So I thought that article was kind of fun and encouraging. And since we're talking about fashion, I happened to notice this article from, it's a comment from Iman, who was David Bowie's wife. Where are all the black models on our catwalks? I think it's a concern if African American women are not being represented. And here the Daily Sheeple has an article, Convoy to D.C., Truckers to Shut Down America in October. I think this is a follow-up to the bikers, and it's called Hammer Down to D.C., October 11th through 13th. Here I have an article from Live Leak. Cancer is finally cured in Canada, but Big Pharma has no interest. And there's a video here. Of course, we've heard about cures for cancer that are ignored and suppressed. And more positive medical news. South Florida doctor uses new technology to regrow a man's finger. This is from American Kabuki. And it's great to know, as we are concerned about things like GMOs and spy technology, that there is technology being developed that has tremendous potential to help mankind. The Daily Tour is a presentation of She Who Will Walk in the Dark Productions, and we are glad for your company on today's tour. The dawn is coming. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.